in South Carolina today with Chris Berry. A lot of folks, you probably remember Chris. Chris has shared some great updates as he's progressed in his habitat and especially in his food plot work. Chris got the property in 2020. Grant came out, laid out a habitat and hunting plan in January or February of 21. Chris got to work, so let's go see what Chris has done here recently. All right, Chris, this is a new food plot you laid out, and Chris is going to kind of walk us through this new plot and how it got up here on the ridge and the hunting strategy. In fact, there's a redneck blind right over there that Chris hunted out of this year. So I'm going to let Chris take it from here and tell you about this plot. But when you first purchased the property, there were some old ag fields. And so the first project was, well, that was a low-hanging fruit. Let's convert those into food plots, get food on the property really fast, and we made some really good ground quickly. And now we're kind of in phase 2 in your food plots. We're scratching in a few here and there on some of these ridge tops, a little smaller plots, getting a little more creative on some of these hunting places. You know, as you've learned how deer move through the property, given the terrain and all that. So new food plot here. I'm going to let Chris tell you all about it.
So this 15 months ago was woods. It took us a while. We bought this land in November of 2020. And it took me a while to get a forester and a logging crew in here because logging is tough. So once the logging crew got in here, this was a logging deck, loading deck. After the loading deck got done here, when they thinned the pines around here to 60 basal feet per acre per the plan from Growing Deer, we came in here, a grading contractor came in here with an excavator, pulled all the stumps, and we turned this into a food plot. So May of 25 was the first time we planted the summer release in here. September of 25, we planted the fall release in here, and it's rough, it's nasty. This is not bad for a first food plot with just 2 plantings in it. We'll plant it again here, you know, late April, early May, whenever the right time is. It's not a hidey hole spot. We're topped up here on top of a hill, so we're above where the wind is gonna swirl. The northeast wind is our prevailing wind coming this way. So the idea was, with the redneck blind positioned over here, the wind comes from the northeast across the food plot and onto the neighbor's property back there where it's a clear cut now. But it's a great spot to sit, and as the food plot gets established and gets better and better over time, this is gonna be a fantastic place to hunt.
This is year 1. You compare this to some of the plots that Chris has been really manicuring and managing for the past few years, and you'll see a huge difference here. But you know, logging deck, a lot of compaction here, but took advantage of that open area, got seed on the ground, and Chris can tell you, he knows that with a little time, the plants, the roots, with a good blend will really improve this soil, and here in a few years, this plot will be lush, fill in very nicely. It's going to be a great plot, but got to use those roots to start keeping the ground covered and let those roots go in, break up that soil, that compaction. He did not run a disc over it. You know, we got it leveled and ready, but then he didn't disc it up to try to break it up, because that's just going to put more of that hard pan and lose that soil structure. So letting those roots be his disc and tiller, and it's going to pay off down the road for sure. Let's pull a root up here if we can, and we'll be able to compare this.
I'm shocked we got that.
All right, you see how platey this is? That's because of that compaction. And there's no real soil structure in here, right? Look at that. And you can see the layers. And now look at the roots here. These roots, they don't have any soil. They're clean. They don't have any little hairs or anything like that. They've done everything they can just to reach down. But they're clean. They're not holding soil particles. Now we'll compare that to another food plot that Chris has been really putting the release process in on. And there's going to probably be a huge difference. This is great. Great hunting strategy with the redneck. New food plot. Can't wait until Chris has big old buck in his hands from this little food plot.
So part of the strategy that we're working on is to try to put the hunters that we have out here, the rifle hunters that we have out here, in a position to be successful. So I don't want anybody to have more than a 200-yard shot if I can help it. So from here, with the northeast wind coming this way, the food plot's all right here. So if you're a right-handed rifle shooter, this is nice. You got just enough trees out there to break things up. The deer are very comfortable in this little bitty food plot. I don't know how many acres that is. It's not 2 acres, I don't think. But the longest shot you can have is not even 200 yards to the top of the hill. So we have a creek fording 300 yards down at the bottom of the hill, and then another 100 yards up that way. So we park in the bottom, and then I walk this whole road that we made up here to the stand. So nothing coming from that way where the prevailing wind is. This is perfect. So I got access, I can hunt, and I can exit, and everything is great. All right, so this was the first road that we put in here, and we call it Lucy Lane, right? But it was so thick on both sides of the road that you couldn't see more than about 20 yards left or right. So
I remember Grant and I, not right here, but just right over here, Grant and I came down for a turkey hunt.
That's right.
And we were sitting there, and 2 toms flew down in the road. They turned, they looked at us, and they walked 5 feet and disappeared.
Gone. That's right, because you were all you could hunt was the road. It was a bowling alley. So now this has gotten so pretty now that we've done the thinning of the pines and the whatever hardwoods we could get our hands on. That's just, we're in a drought. That water that you see right there, that's just an underground spring that stays wet year round right there. So we have a 25-ish acre clear cut here on top of the hill, and we put a road right through the middle of it. So it's basically 2 12-acre clear cuts up there. And a lot of that debris, a lot of that topsoil, whatever you call it, red clay, washed down the hill. This is where I broadcast some seed out. And again, you can see there's some dark green in there, some light green in there. That's brand new. Then on the top of it, well, we call this redneck sitting in the middle of all these white oaks, we call this church bulletin, because you'll see where I broadcast some seed here too. And once we get a fire in there and we can get some of this slash burned down and get some of these native forbs growing, every day that ends in Y, that's going to be the cover of a church bulletin. This is where the west side of the clear cut starts, and you can see these sweet gum saplings already sprouting up, coming out. So we're gonna the plan is to spray these in August of this year, because right now it might look like we have enough fuel. If you're a guy like me and you don't know what you're doing, it might look like you have enough fuel to burn, but you don't. So we're gonna let spring and summer grow a bunch of these sweet gums and a bunch of whatever is gonna grow, weeds. And then in August, we'll come back and spray all of this. And hopefully in March of 27, throw a fire in there. And it's gonna be awesome.
We're gonna hop out here and take a little closer look at this clear cut and kind of talk about it a bit more. All right, we're up on top of this ridge, and this is a big clear cut. And right here is the road that Chris was talking about where we cut it in half. So we got 2 units. We'll do that first burn probably all as one. Clean up all this slash and get rid of everything, but then we can break it up into, a couple of units, and then we've got a lot of diversity up here. So I just want Chris to kind of talk about maybe his observations of seeing this go from pines to a big clear cut. I know they've had some deer hunts around here. These native habitat areas, this is going to be native habitat. There's a lot of forbs and grasses already starting to poke through here, but over time you've seen Grant and I tag a bunch of critters out of these type of habitat. A couple of years ago, Grant tagged a big buck we call Handy, looking into an area similar to this. It's like a big clear cut. We're in the Ozark Mountains. It was a big glade, but native grass in a slope. Looking into that native habitat is incredible hunting. And Chris has got that coming down the road. So really excited about that. But Chris, just kind of walk us through the process here and what you've seen so far hunting and deer activity wise. Chris is always driving around the property, so he sees critters all the time.
Part of the plan that you guys put together for us back in 2021, we had a natural savanna. It was going to go in a different spot that we later decided that could be a pond for us. So we moved the savanna area to this spot. It's about 25-ish acres. And we have this road that our grading contractor put right down the middle of it. Right now it's ugly as it can be because it's a mess. But once we let this stuff grow over the summer, spring and summer, come in here August and spray, burn both of these units and let it grow with the native forbs, the native grasses for 2027. And then that will start this whole piece. We'll have to cut some of these cedar trees down that are still standing, but there will be no trees standing in this. It'll just be all native grasses, all native forbs. Cameron is our second son, and he actually hunted out of a redneck blind over here and shot 2 does out of it one morning. So hunting out of the food plots is a ton of fun, and you always see deer in the food plots. But if you hunt nothing but food plots, every afternoon during deer season, you burn them out. So this is a good alternative place to go hunt. You can hunt mornings or afternoons out here. And then back behind us, we have an area of the pines where this got thinned to 60 basal feet per acre, and it's going to be wide open. So the same thing, we'll spray in here in August. We'll probably drone spray the clear cut, have a skid steer or a foot crew come in here and spray the pines. Pines are, I'm learning, pines are easier to manage than hardwoods.
And we're spraying the sweet gums, really targeting the sweet gums and the hardwood component here.
Because look right here, you don't have to go far. So this is what you run into. Where that tree got cut, that's probably, it's not 2 years old. It's more than 1 year ago that happened. And look at these sprouts already jumping out. These are sweet gums right back here. Same story. Out of these roots, these sweet gums are just jumping out.
So one stem, folks. This is why if you do hack and squirt or the girdle technique, herbicide's needed. You don't want to just cut the tree down without any type of herbicide, because this tree was cut so they could get in here and get the pines. And gosh, there's probably what, 20 stems there for the one stem?
Easy.
And if you just let this go, we didn't do anything, this is all going to grow up sweet gums and shade out the ground again, and there'll be nothing there for deer or quail or turkey or anything.
It'd be an even worse project than what I started out with, was just a bunch of virgin pines, a bunch of native growth pines that were in a nasty mess, but we're making the best out of it. And you've been here, you've seen quail in 2 different spots, and we heard them where we were turkey hunting this morning. So we feel like we have 3 different groups, coveys of quail, and we've never put a bird out here. And we're doing our best to improve the natural habitat so that we can have quail habitat, turkey habitat, brooding, nesting habitat, and the deer just love all of this stuff.
And so we're going to spray and start burning. And with the one-time treatment of a Mazapir, we're not going to do a tank mix, but just a Mazapir to hit these sweet gums and any hardwoods in here. But a Mazapir will favor a lot of the native species. It won't kill all the grasses or forbs under here. If we did a tank mix and just nuked it, everything would die. We want these natives to come up, make seed, drop, recollinate. This is going to look awesome. Just spray and start burning. Chris is going to have a lot of smoke coming in the next few years.
I can't wait.
I mean, you said 60 basal was your target here.
That was the target.
And look up here how much sunlight is getting through. You need at least that 50% mark of sunlight getting through. And already underneath, when we walk down through here, we start walking through here where there's a pocket of sunlight. Look at this. All kinds of stuff.
Yeah, before we did the thinning, this was your definition. Look it up in the dictionary, biological desert. This was it. It was nothing but pine straw on the ground.
And Chris, as you're driving around now, do you see more critters?
Oh yeah.
Through these areas?
Oh yeah. Today's 80 degrees and we'll see deer driving around, deer and turkeys riding around today. And we've already seen a quail on the ground. We had to stop before we hit a quail.
Chris has done a great job. We've got a lot of thinned acres across the property, and this adds a lot of diversity. We have the clear cut, then we have this pine savanna, then we've got hardwoods. We've got all this diversity creating a lot of edge. Different species are going to be growing on these different sites. We're going to be able to get fire in here at different times, get a kind of a checkerboard pattern, so there's different stages of that native vegetation and succession coming up. Chris doesn't want to burn his entire property in one burn. Probably the first burn on these clearings while we got, you know, a good fire crew in here. But then Chris is going to be able to burn by himself, and, you know, he's got limited days. So we'll start checkerboarding, rotate between, you know, maybe like on this clear cut in a couple of years, this side may be just a dormant season fire. And then that summer, he'll burn that side. And this side's going to be green and lush and growing. And then this side will be black. And that ensures that Chris always has some stage of cover and food on his property for his hunting. So this is going to be really productive. And all this habitat, well, it ties into his food plot strategy. We're going to go over here and check out some of his food plots. His food plots are looking really good, folks. We're in a D2 drought, and his plots look stunning. All right, we just pulled up to one of Chris's food plots. You may remember a few years ago, I stopped by, I think it was in December. His plots looked incredible. Big old turnips, supplying a lot of food for deer during the late season. And that was the fall release from green cover. Now it looks a little different, but this is the fall release, and the rye is really starting to jump. Droughty conditions, have great biomass out here. I'm going to let Chris run with it because over the years, Chris has learned a ton about soil health and food plots. So I'm just going to let him run with it and share his observations from this food plot. So here you go, Chris.
So when you were here in December, this is 4 months beyond that. So a lot of those brassicas have been eaten. This clover is just now getting started, but look at how good that clover looks. So we got the clovers in here, we got all this vetch in here, and we've got the mulch layer. The mulch layer is key. So here's some wheat that they're still eating. The cereal rye is tall enough now, they're not eating that anymore. But what you want to pay attention to as you get in here, mulch from previous years. Look right here.
And that's where weeds would be this time of year.
All this mulch right here, this whole bed of mulch. Oh, we should have brought the thermometer to do the temperature test. So when you peel this back and you can see a snail, that's life. Look right here is life. That's life where the first year, 2, 3 we had this place, that would have been rock hard still. And look, I can tear it with my finger.
Yeah, scratch around, remove.
And it's
stage 2 drought. Look how dark that is.
Stage 2 drought for a while.
Is it cool to the touch?
It is. It's. I wish we should have brought the thermometer gun. This is warm to the touch. That's cool. I could pile up in here. That's nice. But my point here is we got the starting low. We got the clovers coming on. They look good. They were looking better, but we had a couple of days in the 80s. We're supposed to get rain tomorrow, a whopping 1/10 of an inch of rain. So it doesn't sound like much, but we would love to have it. We've got some clover in here. That vetch was over here. You got the cereal rye in here. The main thing we don't have, the first couple of years, we would be head high in Johnson grass right now. And Johnson grass is a weed that you do not want. So it's taken us a while to get rid of it.
And the rye has a leopathic chemistry, which is kind of, you know, it helps suppress some of those weeds. And you've built up that mulch layer to shade out the soil from those weed seeds that are in the soil. So using the rye is part of that control for the Johnson grass.
That's right.
And you did have to go in, once we started, you had some little pockets and you went in and you spot treated.
That's right.
But then over time, I mean, we were just talking in the Jeep, how many pockets of Johnson grass did you have last year compared to years past?
I don't think we had any Johnson grass last year. In the first 2 or 3 years we were out here, it was the bane of our existence out here. That weed was winning bad. So we've beat Johnson grass back. Look at this. I mean, this is already sort of heading out. It's not, we're nowhere near dough stage, but it's getting the pollen stuff going. This is not the food plot that we have on the highest ground. That behind us is higher ground actually. But all this food plot would do, we're up on top of a hill. And when we first got this, it would just sit here and bake in the sun because I didn't have any plants. After adding 5 years of plants, this is what you get.
No fertilizer.
No fertilizer, no supplements, no nothing. No lime, no nothing. This is just the fall release in the September timeframe and the summer release in the early May timeframe. The keys are the seed depth and the tractor speed.
And let's pull up some roots here And what we'll do is we'll compare this to the food plot that was new, and then I also want to compare it to what we've seen in the past on some of these food plots.
No worms in that one. And wow, it's dry, but wow, it's cool.
But look, we see a lot more hairs and soil sticking to the roots.
I'm shocked we didn't get a worm.
Well, I bet there's some out there.
Oh, I know there are. I'm just shocked we didn't get one in that.
The color. You remember the first
This was
time?
red clay.
Yeah, and we've shown clips of this in the past where we've pulled it up, and it's red, hard, brick hard clay, and now it's dark, rich, starting to turn color. You know, this soil is looking good.
Look at that mulch. And it takes time to build the mulch layer. And the mulch layer is key, because on the 2 food plots we have next to the lodge, I'm still struggling there. And it's mainly because I don't have the mulch layer to protect the seed once I get the seed in the ground.
And the mulch layer is recycling nutrients.
Correct.
Because you're not fertilizing. You still have these incredible plots, and that's because we're always recycling. We're not disking or tilling. Everything's just dying and laying here and going into the next plant.
Correct. And it makes a big difference. Going year 3 to year 4 was a big jump in all the food plots. This, may or may not look good to a lot of people, but we're in a D2 drought. We're so far behind on rain. I mean, it's bad. This doesn't look like a D2 drought to me.
Growing Deer is brought to you by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. Also by Green Cover Food Plots, Winchester, PH Outdoors, Moultrie, Steel, Fleet Outdoor Apparel, Morel Targets, Fourth Arrow, Soil Pro Outdoors, Scorpion Venom Archery, Case IH Tractors, Burris Optics, and Redneck Hunting Blinds.
Walk us through kind of your thinking, the motions, ups and downs of this whole process, because you've done a great job. And we work with you. You send emails, send pictures, and we help keep you on track. And you give us ideas, and we say, yeah, that sounds good. Just walk us through the whole process.
So in a lot of ways, I would say that I had a tremendous advantage because I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't have a tractor, and I didn't have a no-till drill. So in a lot of ways, that's an advantage because you guys were able to coach me up on what to get, why to get it. And like I said earlier, the first summer and fall planting out here, I planted too deep because I heard Grant say plant heavy. I interpreted that as plant deep, which was wrong. So I'm learning. You learn a lot every season. So when we're sharing, Grant calls and wants to check in, so I send him these pictures. I'm as happy as I can be. Everything's green. And he's like, we got a problem. That's Johnson grass. So you learn that's not what you planted. So you learn the cereal rye with the mulch layer over time, the cereal rye with its root system. All this on top of the ground is nice and fun to see, but there's so many more roots underground that are doing all the hard work for us, breaking up this red clay mud that we're standing on. And then the mulch layer helps. The clover is doing the nitrogen work for the soil. Every planting season, and every year has 2 planting seasons, right? A summer and a fall. So you learn a little bit more. This time last year, this hillside here really had some clover on it. This year it's kind of splotchy. Last year it was dry. This year we're in a D2 drought, and we've been in a D2 drought for months. It's bad. But when you look at this, I'm sure somebody somewhere could complain about this, but I'm as happy as I can be because I know one of the simplest things you can do to have healthy soil is add plants. And we're adding plants here, and look at what it's doing for us.
And Chris and I were just talking about the next step. What does it look like going into spring planting? And Chris is really excited because we're just going to crimp this. We're not going to use herbicide.
I don't hate the chemicals. I don't hate glyphosate. I just don't understand it, so I don't want to use it if I don't have to. I'd a whole lot rather mechanically kill it with the crimper than chemically kill it with glyphosate. But we have enough here, and part of the cereal rye with its root system is helping break up the soil underneath, make it softer, make it healthier. And then when the deer nothing's eating the cereal rye at this stage, it's too high. But once this stuff hits the dough stage and I'm able to plant right through it, some of it will lay down, some of it will stand right back up. Then I'll run over it with the crimper. That will mechanically kill it. And the mulch that I keep bragging about, this cereal rye that we see right here that now is 3 feet tall, 2.5, 3 feet tall, will become my new layer of mulch. It will be my weed mat to stop the weeds from out competing the seeds that I get in the soil to grow.
So you'll have the Super Summer, which has a bunch of food in there, no herbicide.
No herbicide.
It's 2 passes, drill, crimp, no fertilizer, no herbicide. You're gonna have a great stand this summer.
So in the spirit of learning, in May, I will plant, that's 1 pass with the tractor. I will crimp, that's a 2nd pass with the tractor. In September, I will plant, that's a 3rd pass with the tractor over the food plots. If I have to spray, I've evolved to a drone guy now, and the drone guy does a fantastic job. He does it faster, more efficient than I can. So
no compaction.
No compaction. He's not on the food plots at all. He's flying above them. He can get, it would take me 3 or 4 days to spray all these. He can do them in a day, do a better job with coverage because he sends me these charts showing what he sprays. But I've got 3 passes in my tractor a year on these food plots.
And Chris, you don't have to throw your buddies under the bus, but you've got some buddies that come look at your plots. They're doing some different methods in their food plots, and they're a little jealous, aren't they?
I don't know, jealous is the right word, but the way I do it is just different. So that goes back to when I was a member of a hunting club, and I'd never owned land, never owned a tractor. So you watch enough growing deer videos that you get comfortable with the release process. And then when it came time for us to buy property, we knew the release process is the way we wanted to go. We knew that's sort of the regenerative ag, holistic approach that we wanted to take to get healthy soil. We think everything starts in the soil. If we have healthy soil, we'll have healthy plants. If we have healthy plants, we'll have healthy critters. Those critters are what we ingest. So it just makes sense to us. The guys that do the tilling thing, it'll work to a degree, but you're going over it to mow, to spray, to disc. And when you go over it to disc, it's not 1 pass, it's 3 or 4 or 5 passes because you got to make it smooth and pretty. You just saw a brand new food plot that I have back there. We call it Brickyard because we found a bunch of bricks. It's not pretty. There's still slash in there from when it was a loading deck. A bunch of guys would go through there and disc it up and churn that stuff into the dirt, take all the oxygen out of the dirt to kill every earthworm that might actually be there. And then you'd have to dump it with fertilizer of some sort, dump it with lime, and I just don't want to do all that stuff. I like to keep it simple, stupid kind of thing. The release process it just makes sense to us.
Talk to us about what you've seen hunting and on your mole trees when it comes to critters and the activity compared to when you first bought the property.
Every year we've been here, every time we keep an Excel spreadsheet with the deer that we harvest. We keep track of what food plot they get harvested from, what they weigh, doe, buck, whatever, and the weights are definitely getting bigger. All the deer that we have out here, they get healthier looking every year. I said the deer that we had, the 2nd year we had it, 3rd year we had it, those deer look great, those deer look healthy. The deer that we have now look better than they did back then. So you can see these incremental differences every year. All the critters out here, whether you're a deer or a turkey, they love it that I ride around just sort of monitoring what's happening. They don't care about the truck riding around, the Jeep riding around. They don't wave at you when you drive by, but pretty much want you to move along so they can get back to eating.
So these great plots are adding a lot of nutrition. And then also we've got the native habitat. So your critters are making gains. We're gaining in body weight. They're looking healthy. You're packing in more critters, Chris. And we have even more habitat coming. We can get native browse in these areas where we got more sunlight to the ground. And when there's food there and out here in these food plots, your whole property's now become just a massive food plot because all around you, there's nothing but hardwood timber and plantation pines. It's a desert all around you.
You know what we did is we did a nutritional analysis study. I can get you that label that we did on venison that we took off of this property. We sent it to a R&L Labs up in Huntersville, North Carolina, I think it was. And they did a nutritional, just like if you go to the grocery store and buy your meat and It's got the nutrition label on it. It's awesome.
Extremely healthy.
So we're all told as hunters, hey, wild meat's better, it's healthier, all that stuff. We're all told that.
But what does that mean?
But I've never seen it proven. Well, we sent some of our meat off and we had it proven.
And that was reflected exactly what Grant and I saw. We made a video a couple years ago about the comparison of grass-fed beef and venison, and the results that we saw there, how healthy venison is, reflected exactly what Chris saw from his venison here at his place. So great tasting meat for the family, lots of hunting, incredible habitat. Chris is doing a great job on managing his farm, and we're really excited to keep sharing these updates with you, and we hope it encourages you to go out and plant some food plots, you know, maybe get some sunlight to the ground, work on native habitat, light a match and use prescribed fire, and put all that together to get out and enjoy creation with your friends and family by hunting and taking home some great tasting meat. But no matter what, I hope you slow down this week, listen to the Creator and the purpose He has for your life. Thanks for watching Growing Deer.